Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, and welcome to another edition of Heavy Thoughts. This is where I share what's been on my mind lately. And what's been on my mind lately is, are we living in the final glory days of heavy metal? And what do I mean by that? Every style of music has its peak years, its golden years. These are the time frame when the most influential, impactful musicians and artists for this style of music are active, putting out music. If you were to look at classical music, you would say maybe it starts with Haydn and Mozart and goes through Beethoven, and maybe around Mahler and Stravinsky it sort of ends. And jazz, you would say, when Coltrane and Mingus and Miles and Charlie Parker, all of them were active. And maybe we are living in this time right now, but approaching the end of this era. Metal had its peak in popularity in the 80s. It was sort of its formation years when it broke into the mainstream. Then you could say maybe the 90s was the era of pushing boundaries with extremities and the technical abilities of the instrumentalists. And now we're sitting at a point where a lot of these bands, a number of these bands are still active. They're still putting out records. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Metallica, Megadeth, Scorpions. They're either recording or touring, doing some combination of either or both. But we're also, I think, approaching sort of the end of this. Nickel McBrain has retired from touring with Iron Maiden. Glenn Tipton is dealing with health issues. Black Sabbath is playing their final show soon. Deep Purple, I just saw them live not that long ago. They're still putting out albums. They still sound great. Uriah Heep, same thing. But you have to sit back and you have to ask yourself, how many more years do these bands have? And it's always sort of hard to see where you sit in the arc of history when you're in the middle of it. But maybe 30, 50 years from now, when somebody's writing a tome on the history of heavy metal, that they'll look at this period, these 2000s, like this sort of the end of when these very important, influential titans and figures of heavy metal, a lot of them were still active, but when they were approaching the end of their careers. I mean, this is like, I use hockey references all the time because I'm a hockey fan. There's athletes where that they're coming towards the end of their career. They may still be good. Maybe they're not as good as they were in their prime, but they're still good. They're still able to contribute. But you just sort of know that these guys are at the back end of their careers. And I'd say that with a lot of these bands, a lot of them are. Deep Purple, I mentioned already. Maybe somebody like Metallica and Megadeth, those guys are a little younger. They have some more time, if you will. But again, Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, and we've lost some of the really big legends of our scene. Lemmy passed, Dio passed. A lot of other people have unfortunately passed. It seems to, it's just a thing now that you can't stop the movement in time. And so I think that we should, I know myself, I kind of said to myself that maybe I should appreciate this time that we're living in. I was listening to Iron Maiden's new record. I had the vinyl out, and I was listening to Metallica 72 Seasons, and I thought, these albums, they're not Peace of Mind, they're not Number of the Beast, or Killers, or Kill 'Em All. But they're still enjoyable, they're still good. These bands are out there playing, they're still active, and I should appreciate that, because who knows, maybe in 25, 30 years my grandkids will come walking into the room and they'll ask me to tell them about what it was like when Iron Maiden and Priest and Scorpions and Megadeth and Anthrax were still releasing music and touring and doing and active and stuff. They'll heavy metal will keep moving. There'll always be people who will play heavy metal, in my opinion. Metal will live forever, But like I mentioned with those other genres of music, jazz and classical, there's just certain bands that are very important to that style of music. When they're writing the history book on heavy metal, there'll be chapters dedicated to Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Motorhead and Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. So I guess we should just sit back and enjoy these bands while they're still here. Buy their records, go see them live, because again, you don't know, and this is a discussion that always comes up over a couple beers or on a forum. Who is the bands that are going to replace these artists? And most of us cranky old people say nobody can replace these bands, but there's some truth to that. I mean, I just saw Metallica. They played 2 nights at Raymond James Stadium, which is where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play. 70,000 people both nights. I mean, so that's 140,000 people came out to see Metallica in the span of 3 days. They had a day off in between the shows. I don't know anybody else that can do that. I mean, AC/DC might be able to do that, but Iron Maiden, they play at our hockey arena. How many bands that are coming up that can do that? I mean, Ghost is going to be playing there. They're one of the few bands, and I mean, I guess save the argument for whether they're metal or rock or whatever Ghost is. There's just not that many guitar-driven, heavier bands that can, on their own, fill a hockey arena and forget about, stadiums. There's very few bands that can do that. So I don't really think that there is somebody who's going to come up and be able to slot in where these bands were. And it's part of that is just time. Nobody could replace Beethoven. Nobody could replace Miles Davis or John Coltrane. These musicians, they come at a certain time, they leave this impact, and it's just impossible to replicate that because some artist is coming out now is coming out in a completely different environment. But I guess we should sit back and enjoy what's out there and appreciate where we are in the history of heavy metal and the arc of heavy metal here, that we're able to, most people that watch this channel are about my age. We were there in the 80s when metal was exploding and becoming really popular, and we've been with it through all these years, and now we're seeing it in kind of its golden girls years. It's retirement, approaching retirement. We're here now, so I guess let's enjoy it while it's here. Go see a show, go buy a record. All right, let me know what you guys think down below. Till we see you again, make sure you rock hard, free.